This is Maura with Lawyers Weekly, and today I'm interviewing Rudene Haynes from Hunton Andrews Kurth. She's a corporate finance lawyer here in Richmond, and this year Rudene teamed with Dr. Robert Winn, the new director of VCU Massey Cancer Center, and Reverend F. Todd Gray at the Fifth Street Baptist Church. Together, the three of them have launched a series of weekly calls called Facts and Faith, in which they share information on the coronavirus and other healthcare news with Black clergies and the African American community here in Richmond. So, hi, Rudene, how are you?
Hi, Maura, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being with us today. So if you wanted to go ahead and just explain a little bit more about what we spoke about last week for the Good Works column, about how you and Dr. Winn and Reverend Gray came together and how you guys started this series of calls.
Great. So a colleague at the firm was serving on the board of Massey Cancer Center, Amy Williams, and she mentioned to me the fact that Massey Cancer Center had recently hired a new executive director. And I was particularly, my interest was piqued when she told me he was an African-American pulmonologist. I knew early on that he had some interest in sort of getting connected in the community and getting to know and meet people. So Amy and I had a chance to go over to VCU Massey Cancer Center and sit down with him to just meet him and to just get his vision for the cancer center. And I have to tell you, he was probably one of the most dynamic, like scientists, doctors, researchers I've ever met in my entire life. His passion for innovative treatments and more importantly, for sharing those treatments with and implementing those treatments in the community was palpable. And so things just started turning in my brain, and I was thinking, it's really important that the Black community, particularly the Black faith community, meet Dr. Winn, because it's not every day, and I think he might be the only African-American executive director of a national cancer center. So I thought, this just made a lot of sense. So I've spent a lot of time with the faith communities during my 20 plus years in Richmond. And one of my former pastors is Reverend F. Todd Gray at Fifth Street Baptist Church. And I realized that him being a very seasoned pastor in the area and he has a very large network of pastors, I just thought it made sense to at least get those two to connect. So after a couple of months, I was finally able to sort of coordinate a call with them, and we just were talking generally about, the Richmond community, Dr. Winn's work, and COVID, because COVID was here when we first had these initial conversations. And out of that conversation, we just kind of batted around this idea, and Dr. Winn kind of offered to make himself available if there were people in the Black faith community who wanted to hear more about COVID. So again, we were just talking out loud, brainstorming, and we eventually decided, okay, well, let's have a call where what we're going to focus on is making sure we're spreading accurate information about COVID in the Black community. And I'm really big on names, so I was playing around with faith and facts and facts and faith, and that's what we came up with. So it's Facts and Faith on Fridays. It's a call that happens at 3 p.m. every Friday. And the majority of the folks who join are pastors of congregations in the greater Richmond area, Black pastors.
And what are some things that you discuss on these calls or have discussed?
So typically, Dr. Winn's been very good about giving us sort of the state of play with COVID in terms of the number of cases, deaths, the infection rate, sort of comparing it sort of regionally with what's going on. He's really good about sharing statistics from various websites about, what the trajectory looks like. But our conversations have expanded beyond COVID, in that we've talked about how during this time, people are being so fearful about catching COVID that they've allowed their health to sort of deteriorate. They're experiencing like chest pains, or they're experiencing some other sort of health ailments, and they're so fearful about going to the hospital. So we've had in various cancer specialists, heart specialists come in to talk about how, hospitals are following the strictest protocol possible to reduce any transmission rates, So please, if your heart's hurting or you're not feeling well, you need to make it to the ER and you need to make it to the hospital. We've also touched upon racial and social justice issues, again, with the killing of George Floyd and countless others. A lot of the Black faith community have been really involved in sort of doing protests or organizing community town halls. And Dr. Winn has given us some very good advice about what sort of health precautions you should take if you were to go protest, for example. We brought in the Secretary of the Board of Elections to talk to us about what COVID protocols are in place for people to vote, how you can avoid having to show up at the voting booth altogether, and you could do absentee ballot, which again, that started September 18th. So if you haven't voted, please do. You can vote all the way up until October 31st. But we've covered a wide range of issues, but it really just started with us trying to spread accurate information about COVID.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, 2020 has definitely brought a lot of confusion for everyone. So I think that's wonderful that you guys are working together to get some accurate information out there. And I know that your first call was in early April. How long are you planning to continue these calls?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because back in April, I was just thinking, oh, COVID, a couple of months, whatever. But we think that it's really important that there is this dialogue that's developed with, someone from the medical community and the Black faith community, and it's an ongoing conversation. Because health and wellness needs to become, I think, something that we talk about in our churches, right? We know that we've seen the health disparities research, and we know that people of color have a disparate amount of health ailments compared to their counterparts. And we think some of this is systemic. A lot of it is systemic, but we definitely need to make sure that we're keeping health and wellness sort of the top of everyone's list. And I think that the more we can develop, like I said, this sort of trust with someone in the medical community, I think it will help and your benefit to all of our congregations.
Definitely. Wellness has been such a big theme since I've joined this newspaper, because right when I was joining was also when wellness became a big topic within the legal community as well. And there's been a lot of wellness tips and pushes around there too. So yeah, a lot of connections there.
And Maura, if I could just kind of put a footnote there.
Oh, please.
I think mental wellness is something, or mental health is something that people, again, among lawyers and even others in the community, people don't really like to talk about it because it makes them uncomfortable, right? But I feel like, especially during this pandemic, we need to be honest about how we're feeling and be mindful of how people around us are sort of coping with the new norm. And so I'm hoping that we can also elevate, as part of the discussion about wellness, making sure that people are emotionally and psychologically well, in addition to, maintaining their physical wellness.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone wants to join a Facts and Faiths call, how can they do that?
So F. Todd Gray is sort of maintaining the list of folks. Right now, we're still keeping it within the Black faith community because we feel as though it's a very safe space for us to sort of talk about issues that affect people of color. But from time to time, we do invite others to join. But I think for now, the best way to do it is if you get in contact with F. Todd Gray at Fifth Street Baptist Church, particularly his assistant, Donna Davis, you can get more information about how to join the weekly call.
Great, and I'll be sure to put all that information with the link for this video as well. So thank you again so much for speaking with me about this. It's been lovely talking with you. Is there anything else you want to add about Facts and Faith and everything going on right now?
I'll just put one plug in. To the extent that you weren't able to see the Zoom webinar that we did, Facts, Faith, Health Equity, and Justice in Our Community, it is available on VCU's website. But it was a riveting discussion with leaders in the faith community, leaders in our government community, Dr. Winn, health researchers. It was just a very candid conversation about health disparities and how if one community is affected, it really affects all of our communities. So everybody has an interest in making sure that we achieve health equity for all. So check it out or look it up.
Absolutely. And that's the one you moderated, right?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for speaking with me.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, Rudene. So I just finished recording it, so that was a good little goodbye. But I did want to say I was able to watch that recording of that webinar. I was able to watch part of it yesterday, and it was very interesting. I think this is such a great thing you guys are doing, and I had no idea. I didn't know anything about it until I reached out to Yvonne. So yeah, I read the Richmond Biz Sense article and everything. So I think it's great. If you continue doing things with facts and faith and just anything surrounding good works or wellness, let me know, because
I will let you know, because the one thing I didn't want to mention during our recording is that, it's fine. This doesn't mean anything, but was that we had representatives from the FDA come and speak to us. Right. That conversation did not go very well because unfortunately there was a lot of apologizing for some of the messaging and some of just how things have gone really wrong with the FDA. And so the preachers had lots of really tough questions that the representatives couldn't answer. So it was kind of awkward, but we're also having, there's their plans to have Dr. Fauci join us in a future call. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
that's crazy.
So as I get more information about that call, I mean, that would be a very interesting one. Again, we'd have to figure out, who can join, but again, even if it's just sort of reporting about the fact that Dr. Fauci spoke with Black faith leaders in Richmond, I think would be a really interesting story. And we're not so concerned that he's going to be apologetic about all that's happened. He's going to sort of give you the truth, which is what people really need right now. So
absolutely, please keep me posted on that. That's very interesting. That's awesome that you guys were able to get in touch with him.
Not us, Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, of course. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Sure. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you.
I will be sure to link everything with this video, and I will send you that article right after this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting you in person. Well, virtually.
In person. It's the most in person. Awesome. Well, have a good one, Rudene.
All right. Bye-bye.